Aloha world, we're be back tonight. We're continue going through our November 2025 issue of Kavaiola. So let's get into the next article here. This article is titled Kava o Kavai, Protecting the Waters of Kona by Loke, Ashley, and Jonathan. They write, since the Lahaina fires, Aralahui is increasingly aware of the Commission on Water Resource Management's legal duties to protect the public trust of water, including Native Hawaiian rights. But Maui Komohana is not the only community that has been waiting for the CWRM action. For decades, the Kupa of North Kona on Hawaii Island have asked for protection of their water. Instead, CWRM is working to permit accelerated groundwater extraction for new developments. This planned exploitation comes even as we are experiencing historic and perhaps permanent droughts across Hawaii. We are now living in Kawai o Kawai, the time of water. How will we respond? Decades of pleas to protect water. Dry on its surface, the northern part of North Kona was known as Kekaha Vaiole on Kona. Underground, however, water sustains ecosystems, practices, and communities from ocean to sea. Since the 1970s development boom, Kona groundwater has been exploited with almost no regard for traditional uses. While developers have benefited financially, the landscaping community have paid the price. Elders warned us when Congress created Kaloko Honokohau National Historic Park, it mandated that the National Park Service manage it in accordance with the 1974 Spirit Report. Prepared by a Native Hawaiian Advisory Committee, it declared good water quality is essential to fish pond culture, and since the source is almost entirely in the rainy mountain areas, management of these and other lands adjacent to the park will have a direct impact on water resources within the park. And cooperative planning efforts with the state, county, and private landowners is an important part of this proposal. The state and county ignored this warning, and our elders were proven right. In 2014, Kona native Herbert testified his Ohana family once practiced fishing, gathering, drinking, and bathing practices, but flowing freshwater, water springs, brackish water pools, and opai ula are gone, or at least not easy to find. They have been slowly diminishing. After years of fruitless conversations in 2013, the NPA's petitioned CWRN to designate the Keauhou Aquifer System as a groundwater management area, which requires water development decisions be made in a public and include processes to protect Hawaiian rights. Unfortunately, that designation was aggressively opposed by developers in the county of Hawaii. The 60-day designation process was dragged out over 3 years. Ultimately, CWRM denied the petition, agreeing with a recommendation written by staff who now work for water development consultants. A failed new approach. When CWM denied the petition, it attempted to meet its public trust duties by imposing a requirement to review impacts on cultural practices from new wells, a supposed new approach. The Ota well was the first well proposed after that. The applicants were two state agencies working with private developers seeking to build market rate housing and an industrial park. Disregarding CWRN's promise to review cultural impacts in 2021, staff recommended approval of the Ota well permit, requiring only a symposium to discuss traditional and customary practices. CWN rejected the recommendation after community opposition and instead directed staff to analyze cultural impacts. Consultation with stakeholders resulted in proposed permit conditions to address these impacts. For a moment, it seemed that the new approach would work. Unfortunately, in 2022, the applicants opposed the conditions and requested a contested case hearing on their own application. After stalling, the applicants returned in 2024 to amend the conditions. Fish pond protectors and fishermen secured a promise from CWRN to instead synthesize hydrological data to better understand current impacts on groundwater-dependent ecosystems and cultural practices along the coast. A new approach? Ignoring that promise, this year CWM instead proposed another new solution, an adaptive management plan, or AMP, While it looked good from afar, it was far from good. CWRM initially tied the AMP's approval to the Ottawa construction permit, which was adamantly opposed by the community. It proposed only monitoring conditions while allowing unlimited new wells to go into production and ignored evidence of existing impacts to groundwater dependent ecosystems. It also promised theoretical future management actions but never addressed how such management could be enforced in this non designated area. When the AMP was discussed in July, Commissioners Lawrence and Aurora questioned CWRM's regulatory power to enforce it. Deputy Director Sierra said, "There's not much we can do besides ask nicely." Mike stated, "I just think it's nuts. Why don't we just designate the area already?" Chairperson Chang voiced agreement. As of September, Commissioners' comments on this designation have been ignored. Little progress has been made on the AMP. Members of the AMP's cultural expert group have not been identified, though CWRN readily identified anti-designation scientists to participate. Meanwhile, there are dozen wells waiting to be developed without any meaningful safeguards in place for Kona's water. Today's decisions determine the future of Hawaii's public trust resources. Communities across the islands are experiencing the trifecta of extreme drought, over-extraction, and passive management. In Kekaha, Waiole, the community is left carrying the burden to protect the water that gives life to Kona's people. How will we in CWN's Awamo the Kuleana of Kava o Kawai? Will the state continue to ignore its duties, or will it stand with communities to protect water and native rights?